Recording in progress.
Good evening, Queen City Toastmasters. Happy New Year. This is our first meeting of 2024, and I'm so excited that you're with us. If this is your first time, please raise your hand. Oh, wow. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 guests. Okay, cool. 5. So a couple logistics for our first time guests. The restrooms are behind us. Men's is around this way. Women's is around that way. It's all the same hallway. It'll get you to the same place, so you won't have an accident. But anyway, there's the bathrooms. The microphone, it's not broken. There are no speakers in here. It's for our online recording of this meeting, so we can go back and watch ourselves on YouTube. And so it's for recording purposes for that. So, anybody make any resolutions? Show of hands. Got a few honest people out there. I heard somebody on the radio yesterday. They said, I don't make resolutions because if I don't make them, I can't break them. It's one way to look at life. Very closed-minded way to look at life, if you ask me. I like to look at it as if you're not trying, then even if you fail, if you're not trying, then you're not living and you're not expanding your comfort zone. So for me, I don't like to call them resolutions. I like to call them goals. And I like to actually take action and write them down, my goals out for the whole year. I don't know how you're doing it, but so my rhetorical question to you all is, are you writing down your goals? Are you developing a chronological plan to achieve those goals? Because I love the quote, because if you're not writing them down and you're not planning it out, then your goals will just remain dreams. You'll never get them done. I like the quote, the biggest gap in the world is the difference between knowing and doing. If you don't take actions, remember, goals just remain dreams. The guy who said, I don't make them because if I don't make them, I can't break them. Well, he's also afraid to try new things. And that's why we're here. We're all trying new things, right? So don't be afraid to try something for fear of failure. Failure is actually a good thing. And I like these 2 quotes that I've memorized. Fail early, fail often, and fail forward. So putting that in mind of Toastmasters, if you've never done this before, get up here and try it. If you fail, good. At least you'll fall forward. You'll learn something. And then the other one I love is sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So even if you don't get the outcome that you want, you'll learn something that you can take with you and apply it for the next time. I know that was a long-winded Sergeant of Arms, but this is a new year. This is a new meeting, and I want us as this club to crush it this year. So happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for joining us. With that, I will turn it over to our presiding officer, Dr. Eric Laxter.
Thank you, Cameron, and Happy New Year to everybody here. I learned many years ago that when I would make resolutions, I didn't always stick to them. And you may know this, but the meaning of the word resolute is a firm decision to do something or take action. So I realized I was not really resolute, but I was resolute-ish. And so that softened the blow when I didn't quite carry through with whatever it was I decided I was going to be resolute about. For our guests, people who come up here usually in the meeting sign up for roles. So we have some roles that are permanent, like Cameron, myself, who are officers in the club. But then people who come here to run the meeting each week sign up to do those roles. And so you'll hear from each of those as they come up, and they'll explain to you what it is their role consists of, so you can be familiar with what's happening during the meeting. Plus, on your table, you'll see agendas, and that indicates the time we're at in the meeting, and also the role that each person has when they come up here. So it should be easy to follow along. We usually start off by giving our guests a chance to introduce themselves. And I'm going to start here and just go around the room with our first guest, who is known to us, and this may be his last opportunity to introduce himself as a guest, and I'll let him explain why. So please join me in welcoming Rockney.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rockney. I've been a guest here for quite some time, coming for some weeks now, maybe a couple of months. So I just let him know that I'm ready to go ahead and pay my dues and become a full-time member for the entire year. So I'm excited. So yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry.
And so there's never any pressure to join. You actually can be a guest as long as you want at Toastmasters, but we are very excited when you take that step. So if you can just introduce your name and how you found us or anything you want to share with us, that would be great. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Griffin. It's nice to see you all. I found out about this from a podcast that recommended coming here to learn to speak a little bit more confidently. And I figured, all right, the big sell was that it's a community that really supports one another and builds up rather than tears down, which is exciting. So excited to meet you all. And thanks for having me here.
Hi, I'm Carrie. Excited to be here. First time here at Toastmasters, and have heard about Toastmasters for years and never really got around to trying it out. So here we are.
Hey, everybody. My name is Mark Lindley. It's my first time at Toastmasters. Same. I've known about Toastmasters for years. Wanted to try something new, see what I could learn, see what I can improve on. So thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Everybody, I am Jeff Herr. I came down from Davidson, the Lake Norman area. And the reason that I'm here, well, I found out about Toastmasters online and I watched some videos. And actually the reason that I'm here, well, this time last year, I had a stroke. So with my stroke, I didn't have any effects, like I didn't have any extremity effects or anything like that, but I had aphasia from the stroke. And if you don't know, I didn't know what aphasia was. It takes away your ability to communicate. Your brain has some words, but the words can't get to your mouth. So I had to go through speech therapy and things like that for like, 5 months. And I feel like I got my speech back. But in my prior life before the stroke, I was very confident in my abilities to communicate to others in a public setting. And I feel like a lot of that has gone away because I had the aphasia. So I'm looking forward to joining this group and presenting to everybody and, getting my confidence back. So I think I just gave my first speech. So sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Well done, everybody. And one of the philosophies we like to have here at our club is everyone gets a chance to hold the microphone and speak. So even if you haven't signed up for a role, we really try to give everybody an opportunity because we all know that's the only way to get better at doing something. If you wanted to join the swim team and you just went to the pool every day and sat on the bench, you wouldn't get very good at swimming. So that's our philosophy. I every week try to remember to remind everyone here to use these, and I seem to always forget, and David reminds me every week. He did again this week. Unfortunately, I remember now. So these are on everyone's table. They are ballots, but we don't vote anymore. But if you have some feedback you want to give anybody who comes up here, you can just write out a short note to them and you can fold it up, write their name on it, and either get it to me. I may come around and collect them, but if not, then please make sure you give them to me. The most exciting part of our meeting is having somebody who volunteers to be our Toastmaster, meaning they run the meeting and they pick a theme, and the theme can be anything. Usually, hopefully it's something engaging. And I know everybody here is going to have an awesome time tonight. Please join me in welcoming our Toastmaster who will explain his theme, our current member and our club growth director in our district, Toastmaster David Jones.
Appreciate it. Get your goodies. Yeah. All right. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I'm David, and I will be your Toastmaster. My theme today is trivia, and I have a lot of random trivia questions for you. If you saw the theme and you brushed up on Toastmasters, there's no Toastmaster questions. And in addition, we're going to make it a monetary thing. I have $50. Each question is going to be worth $5. And if you don't get it right, the next question will be worth $10, $15, and then we'll start over whenever they go. But the rules are, we're going to raise our hands, no looking at our computers or our telephones, because I don't want you to be looking up answers or Googling them. And the person next to you also wants to win the money, so try to be honest about your questions. And then if there's a question that has like a number, I don't want you to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just try to guess a number. And we'll just call on like 3 people whenever there's a numeric one, so that, because there's 18 people here. If everybody guesses one number, eventually somebody's going to get lucky. So we just want to see who actually knows the answers. And I'm going to disqualify one person up front for one of the questions, and that's going to be Dr. Eric, because it's a medical question, and obviously he knows the answer. So it's just not fair to everybody else. He's going to know the answer. Or embarrassing yourself. There's also one I was thinking about disqualifying Bill for, but I'll explain it when we get to that one. I'm sorry, what? Oh, we do have a lawyer in the house and we have a doctor in the house. So everybody's safe one way or the other. So that's funny. But I'm just going to give you an example of the question. And again, raise your hand. We'll usually do 4 or 5 answers. If nobody gets it right, then we'll go on to the next question, except for if it's a numeric thing. So I'll give you an example. And here's my first question. And I'm also going to say who might win it. I think some of the people I thought would win the answers would be here, but they're not here tonight. But I think Bill might get this first question. And the question is, it's about 50 years ago, 49 years ago, McDonald's made their first drive-through. It was 1975 in Sierra Vista, California. And that was the first drive-through for McDonald's ever. Do you know why they made a drive-through at that McDonald's? You're getting there.
Okay, it's a military town. And, had a lot of people, soldiers, because they couldn't eat in or something because of their uniforms.
Exactly.
So they had to drive through.
There you go.
And, pick up their food and get back on base with them.
Yeah, back then the military wouldn't allow them to get out of their vehicle if they were off site in their uniform and go into McDonald's. So McDonald's said, well, we'll do a drive-through so you don't have to get out of your car. So good answer. Did you know that? I thought for sure. Because Bill was in the military. I thought for sure Bill would know that. So those are the type of just random questions I have for tonight. But before we get to the next question, I'm going to go ahead and call on our inspirational thought master, which is Toastmaster Gabe. Want to come up and give us some inspiration? Gabe? Thanks, sir.
Thank you, David. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. It is the very beginning of a year. And I feel like there's a little bit of pressure with when you have an inspirational thought, right, for the beginning of the year. So hopefully, just bear with me here. This is going to be a little bit different, a little bit unique, but I want some involvement from y'all. So to tee that up, I'm going to ask you to think about something. Think about something that you are proud of, that you accomplished in terms of goal last year. So think about something that you achieved. And then I want you to take it a step further and think about like what enabled that, what systems, processes, what happened so that you could achieve that. So while you're thinking about that, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes. I have a few. I think I shared one a few weeks back. This is another one. This is from a guy named John Maxwell. He's a leadership guru, author. And his quote is, where there's hope in the future, there's power in the present. Who here wants more power in the present? Who here sometimes lacks power to accomplish their goals? Yeah, I think we all do at times. And so I thought about, man, if hope isn't, creating hope, how can I create hope? And so I came up with a list of about 5 things that I wanted to share with y'all tonight to create hope, to create more power right now so we can accomplish our goals. So with that being said, I thought about 5 things. The first was, when you're creating a goal, one of the most discouraging things is to create something so big that honestly, even your subconscious will start defeating you because you're like, man, it's too big. There's no way I can do this. And so if it's too big, you'll be incredibly discouraged. So the first is creating attainable goals that man, if I work really hard, I can do it. As Jim Collins says, like a BHAG or a big, hairy, audacious goal, it can still be huge, but it has to be attainable. So that's the first, is attainable goals. Number 2, understanding the process of achievement. So you understand the goal is attainable, but do you understand how? What are the steps to achieve that goal? Once you break it down into more bite-sized chunks, you're able to you're able to then think, man, I can actually do this. This is realistic. It may be hard, but it's realistic. Number 3, so you have an attainable goal. You know what the steps are, but where are you at in that process? Are you at step number 3, and there's 5 steps? Where are you at in that process? Knowing where you're at creates honesty, which again, a lot of it's subconscious. Your subconscious will help you find ways to achieve things when you break it down like this. Number 4 is referencing past achievements. So we've all done things that we're really proud of, and being honest, looking ourselves in the mirror and saying, yeah, I did that, I can do this. And then lastly, encouragement from others. This can be either a positive affirmation from someone, or it could honestly be watching others achieve goals that you thought were impossible, right? I think that's oftentimes the most inspiring thing, is watching someone else do what everyone thought was the impossible. When Sir Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute barrier in 1954, he didn't just do it for himself. Athletes had been trying for almost a decade, and they were within 1 second of breaking the 4-minute barrier. 1 second for a decade. All the talking heads, the experts said it was impossible. They said your heart would burst out of your chest and you couldn't do it. When he did it, the next month, less than 6 weeks later, others were already doing it. And I think that is what I find encouragement in. And I want to challenge all of y'all. Go be an encouragement to someone else. Thank you, guys.
Sir, appreciate it. Do you know which group of people has not beat the 4-minute mile? Yeah, okay. Women, no offense, but women, there's never been a woman that's beaten the 4-minute mile. They've come close, but I don't know how that works, son. Yeah. Okay, you got me there. So maybe. I don't know if he ever did or she. All right, next question. And this might go to Bill too, because Bill was also a fighter pilot, but he was also a school teacher. Second question, and it's something that we see all the time, but we really don't question it. And it's yellow school buses. And on the yellow school buses are 3 black lines. Shannon, what are they for?
First is the floor level, the second is the seat level, third is the back of the breast level or the head level.
And why do they need to know? Who needs to know that?
Firefighters.
There you go. Gosh, I thought I was going home with $50 today. Wow, Shannon. Congrats. Yes. It's for safety and security so that the fire department knows where to help the students out. All right, next up is going to be our grammarian. Dana, want to come up and explain your role? Nice dress. Very fancy.
Thank you. Good evening. As grammarian, it is my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers tonight, listening carefully to your language usage, especially for filler words like but, so, and you know, which I will probably use myself while I'm up here, but that's okay. And I'll also be on the lookout for stellar usage of language, so great vocabulary, great phrases, and hopefully I'll remember everything and be able to pay some compliments at the end of this. Finally, my duty as grammarian is to introduce the word of the day, which today is reach. Can mean multiple things. The first meaning is to stretch out an arm in a specified direction to touch or grasp something. The second meaning is to arrive at or get as far as. And the third is the extent or range of an application or effect. So the reach of something. An example of using the word is, I hope each of you reach for your goals this year. Every speaker who comes up is encouraged to use the word of the day, and we tend to reward people by going when they incorporate the word of the day into their speech. So that's about it for me. I'll be back at the end of the meeting to let everybody know how they did in terms of filler words, great vocabulary, and using the word of the day. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Oops, I'm going to reach down and pick up my notes. All right, there we go. Come on, I had to set myself up. Next up is going to be our timer. Cameron, you want to come up and tell us what a timer does? And for our guests, why do we time?
Hello again. I'm Cameron. I will be your timer for the evening. The importance of the timer to me, I don't know the political answer that the club's supposed to use, but for our speeches, for example, we're going to be 5 to 7 minutes tonight. 5 minutes gives our speakers enough time to put together a lot of thorough detail into a speech instead of just coming up here for 30 seconds and puking out something real quick and sitting back down. But it also has a time cap on the far end to keep you from coming up here and rambling on forever and losing the audience's attention. So we have a window. So for our time speeches tonight, we'll have Shannon and Bill. It'll be 5 to 7 minutes. So at the 5-minute mark, you'll see me hold up the green card. And then at the 6-minute mark, which is halfway, you'll see me hold up the yellow. And then at the 7-minute mark, I will hold up the red, giving our speakers the indication they have 30 seconds to wrap it up. Later in the meeting, we'll move into table topics, which is working on your impromptu speaking. During that, you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to deliver a impromptu answer. So at 1 minute, I'll hold up the green card for that. A minute and a half will be yellow and 2 minutes will be red. And then our evaluation, we'll have 2 evaluators come up and evaluate our 2 speakers who spoke earlier. And the evaluations are going to be 2 to 3 minutes. So green at 2 minutes, 2.5 will be yellow, and red will be 3 minutes. And that is my role. Toastmaster David.
Good job. All right. Before we get to our speakers, I'm going to do one more another trivia question. This is something that's fun for me because hopefully none of you know the answer. I'm very shocked that 2 of you got the first one. The question is, who, whom, or what is Edward Bear? Edward Bear. Who, whom, or what is Edward Bear? Canadians might know this answer. Archery? Why is bear like a bow? No, that's not correct. Edward Bear, like bear. My Canadian friend. We'll do one more guess. Anybody? Or Shannon? One man who's never sat in your kitchen? Is that the answer, or are you building up? Oh, he's never sat in your question. Exactly. Anyone else going once? Because then the next question is going to be worth $10. It is Winnie the Pooh. Yes. Let me take off my glasses. I can read my notes. When Christopher Robin was 1 year old, grammarian will get me for the plural. His parents got him Edward Bear from Harrods in London. And he didn't like the name, but he just kept the name for a while. Well, once they were on vacation and there was a lake and there was a swan swimming in the lake, and Christopher Robin went out and he was throwing out breadcrumb stuff. He's going to try to play with the swan. And the swan ignored him and just swam by, and he went, "Oh, Pooh." So he always called the swan Pooh. That was the swan's name. But eventually the swan flew away. So he took the name and gave it to Edward Bear. So he became Pooh, but he wanted him to have 2 names. So he had to find another name. And there was a bear at the London Zoo, and that bear's name was Winnie. And the bear was so nice, and this is back in the 1920s, this is a true story. They would actually let the kids go in and pet this bear in his cage, because it was the 1920s, they didn't think about it. But his name was Winnie, and he was a black bear, and he was from Canada. There was a soldier who went over, rescued him, brought him back to the London Zoo. Do you know where in Canada he was from? His name is Winnie. Winnipeg, yes. So that's how Winnie the Pooh got his name. He was originally Edward Bear, and he's Winnie the Pooh. Now we get after the speeches, we'll do some more questions, and the next one will be worth $10, and it's going to be a good one. But first up is going to be our guest speaker from Ballantine Toastmasters is going to be Shannon, and it's a play on words. It's called Powerful Presence. Present. Right? Powerful present. 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Toastmaster, or timer. Sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is a this is a rough draft for another speech, so I'm recording it. So what I'm doing up here is necessary for me and painful for you to watch. So I do apologize in advance. Over the next 7 minutes, 15 seconds or so, I want to give you a very, very powerful present. 91 days ago, I would not have been able to do this. 91 days ago, I was tired. Have you ever been tired, ladies and gentlemen? Have you ever been so tired? I mean, not just bone weary, had a long day at work, come home, flop down, watch TV, tired. I'm talking tired. Just tired in your soul, kind of tired. Not wanting to get up the next day, not looking forward to anything, tired, not anticipating or want to be excited about anything, tired. That was me. I was tired. I realized that I had to come up with something new. I had to do something different because what I was doing was not working for me. What I was doing was getting up in the mornings, going to work, working half a day, going to lunch, go to lunch, drink a little bit, have a couple of drinks at lunch, go back to work, stop on the way home, get some wine on the way home, maybe have a little bit on the way home, so that when I got home, I have a head start, drink myself into a stupor, go to sleep, get up, repeat. And then, God forbid, Friday come, the weekend sucked. I was so tired. So tired. I was tired. I didn't want to deal with friends. I didn't want to deal with family. I didn't want to deal with housework. I didn't want to deal with bills. I didn't want to deal with personal hygiene. I didn't want to deal with life. I was tired. Saturdays, I'd get one of them big old boxes of wine. I could start Saturday morning, get up about 9 o'clock, drink it till I got comfortably numb, watch TV and forget half the things I watched till I passed out, wake up, finish off the box, repeat, only leaving the house on the weekends to go get more. Just to get to the weekends, I was tired. Ladies and gentlemen, oh man, I was tired. And I had to realize and accept, and as a former soldier myself, my friend, the hardest thing I had to do was surrender to the fact I was an alcoholic. So 91 days ago, actually about 95 days ago, my wife finally told me, look, this isn't working. She'd already been moved out of the house for almost a year, living with her mother. She told me, oh, I'm about to file for divorce because you can't get it together. This is just not working. I can't watch you do this to yourself. I said, okay, you know what? I surrender. I had to surrender to the fact that I had a problem in order to face that problem. So I did. I quit my job that day. I called him up, said, look, I quit. I'm gonna have to go into treatment. I called up a treatment center in Florida. I flew out 2 days later. I spent 2 months in Florida. Went through detox, went through rehab. It was great. Had a blast. Woohoo! I didn't. That's a lie. How did I know when I hit bottom? It wasn't the fact that my wife told me that she was about to leave me. She'd already left me. I'd kind of resigned myself to the fact that I was going to die alone. How I hit rock bottom? I was sitting in the house one day. Had to be a weekend. Phone rings. Person on the other end of the line says, Shannon. Is this Shannon? Yes, this is Melly. We've been trying to get in touch with you. I said, oh, well, you've got me. What can I do for you? They said, Shannon, we're very concerned because your car's extended warranty is about to run out. And I sat there and listened to the whole spiel for a half an hour. That's how you know you've hit rock bottom, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you know that you have reached a point in your life where you have nothing else to live for, that you are so desperate for some kind of interaction. You're willing to listen to a telemarketer talk to you about your car's extended warranty. Ladies and gentlemen, I was in a rut. And for those of you who don't know what a rut is, wow. That's where you're stuck. A rut maybe just seems like a hole where you get stuck down into, like an old cartwheel, and you're stuck in there for a while. But a rut, honestly, it's just a grave. It's a grave with openings on either end. A rut is something that allows you to give you the sense of moving forward without actually allowing you any sense of progress. So I would invite you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in a rut, I want you to take this invitation. Take a second and just pause. Take a deep breath. And think about where you are right now. Be in the present. Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, the present is all that we have. Past is gone. Future's not promised. But the present is so powerful. The present is the intersection between all of our experiences, coinciding with the launching pad for all those opportunities. So we have to be here in the present right now today. I ask you, no, I beg you. If you were anything like me, 1, don't. 2, get help. 3, find beauty, power, and purpose in the present so that you have a future. Because right now is when we make our future. Right now is all we have. And right now is where we are. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm sure we all have the same question. Did you buy the extended warranty? That was my takeaway from the whole speech.
Almost.
There you go. Thank you, Shannon. For the guests, this is kind of therapy. You get up here and talk about just about anything you want. I've given speeches where I've choked up. It's a great place. It's a safe space. We're not going to go out and talk about others' business. It's just where we go. Let me go to our $10 question, and then we'll go to our next speaker. Now, part of my thing that I like to do is to buy vintage and antique books of all types, and mostly children's stories from when I was a kid. So that's how I knew about Winnie the Pooh. I'm reading that original book, and then also Willy Wonka. We all know the story Willy Wonka, the movie from 1964. The original book was called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which became part 2, where they had Johnny Depp. The original movie, of course, was Willy Wonka. Now they have the new one I want to see is Wonka, the prequel. But in the book, we talked about the Oompa Loompas. And as we know, the Oompa Loompas are all little short orange people with, I think, green hair, crossed overalls that were white and a brown shirt. But that's not what they were described as in the book. They weren't orange. Does anybody know what they look like according to the book? What color were they? What did they wear? Anything? No? Andrea? Huh? No. It might have been orange. It's kind of may have been a trick question. No? That's it? Wow. Next question is going to go to $15. Okay. They were black. They were from Africa. They were miniature pygmies. And they lived up in the trees and in tree houses because they couldn't go around and collect food because they get eaten by everything because they were little guys. And they only ate green caterpillars because they couldn't go out and hunt. That's all they would eat, and they didn't like it. So when Willy Wonka went to them, he showed them, what do they call it? The cocoa beans, and they loved them. And he said, well, if you come to my factory, you can have all the cocoa beans you want. And so he imported them all. And what they wore was the men would wear skin, deer skin outfits. The women would wear leaves. And then the children were naked. So very sanitary chocolate factory, naked kids running around. But that's the kind of thing I like to do is just read these old stories and see where there's differences between the new movies and the original. See if I missed anything on that. Nope, that was it. All right, so next up is going to be our second speaker, who's going to be evaluated by Andrea Chocolate Butterfly Williams. In fact, in the book, the children thought when they saw the Oompa Loompas across, they thought that they were chocolate. They're like, are those chocolate figurines? And they're like, no. But Bill is going to give us a speech, 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer, called Math is Useful.
Yes.
You want me to set up the microphone so you
Yes,
don't have
if
to
you
hold
would,
it?
please. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything? Well, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I'm Bill Fountain. Yeah, we've known over the several of our Toastmasters have given us little speeches about insurance and about water treatment. And of course, last week or last meeting, I gave a little speech about geometric proofs and how they can help our critical thinking skills. Well, today I want to get a little bit more into about how mathematics can help us and be useful in our everyday lives or into some unique lives. But before I get into that, I want to go into a little bit about broaden the idea of what mathematics is. According to a guy named Galileo, mathematics is the language in which God has written the universe. And there's a guy named Pythagoras, which you may have heard, and he says that, hey, mathematics is everything. I said, well, that's a little bit over the top. But one of the interesting things is that there's a lot of mathematicians that are also philosophers. You know, like Pascal and Pythagoras was also one of those guys. And they are people who seek the truth. They deal in logic and they use an abstraction, and they're trying to understand the relationship of all the elements in the universe. Well, I am not a mathematician or a philosopher. I'm just a former geometry teacher. But what I do want to use is show you is how we can use mathematics to solve problems. And one of the things is there are three centers of triangles that I'd like to introduce to you and the usefulness of those. The first one is, we're going to call this the end center. Mind my back. So I'm going to draw a triangle. All right, here's a triangle. And to do an end center, you use the angle bisectors. In other words, you cut the angle in half. So I'm going to do that as best as I can. I used a compass in class, but here I'm going to try to cut that here, and then cut this one in half here, and then cut this one in half here. Okay, so at that center point, this would be the center point. And if I drew a circle, this circle would be tangent to each of those sides. Well, Mr. Fountain, what's so good about that? Well, think about if you had a distribution center that you wanted to place into a place where you could distribute your products throughout the state or in this local area. And if you call this right here I-40, and this I-77, and this I-85, you have just solved your problem, because that would give you the quickest access to each of those three areas. So there's a useful point for end center. The next one is called the circumcenter. Circumcenter. And I'm going to draw a little bit different triangle. It doesn't make any difference particular. All right. But here, the circumcenter, I will have, in order to form that, I have to use what they call a perpendicular bisector. And I know this may like be a reach for you, but it is, that's what they call it. So perpendicular bisector means I've got to cut this guy right in half. It's got to be perpendicular to it. I got to cut this guy right in half and perpendicular in, and I cut this guy right in half and perpendicular in. All right, well, that's my center. All right, so what's so good about that, Mr. Fountain? Well, let's say that you are a manager of a county or some area, and you've got three communities here, one here and one here and one here, and they all want a library, but the county does not have enough taxes to go to buy three libraries, but we can do one library. And one of those libraries, if we put that guy right here, it would be equal distance from those three communities. And therefore, you would not be showing bias to some particular community. And therefore, you would keep your taxpayers happy, right? All right, the last one is the, whoops, here we go, centroid. And what that does is that we do it with a triangle. And that we use the median of each side. In other words, the middle of this side, go over here, the middle of this side, go over here, and the middle of this side, go over here. And what that, oops, it should be a point right here. What that is, that's the balance point. So if I cut that guy out, I could put it on this top right here, and that would be the balance point. So there you can see that math is going to give you some usefulness of being able to be useful in doing a variety of different ways to solve problems. So the message I want to tell you is go back to your children or to your fellows and say that mathematics is not all that bad. It solves things. It helps you. It helps you in your critical thinking. And so it's something that is useful. And just like Galileo said, God used it to write the universe. Thank you for your attention.
Toastmaster Bill. Do one quick question before we move on to the table topics. And if you were here earlier this year, I actually gave the answer because I don't know if I gave a speech or I was Toastmaster, but again, I'm reading these old books, these old fairy tales. one of my favorite is Alice in Wonderland. And the quick question is, when is Alice's birthday? Does anybody know when Alice's birthday is? No? Just month and day. Sounds like a guess. No, but good guess. But that's good because the next question will be worth $20 and I have a bonus. Well, I have bonus on 20, unless anybody else wants to guess, but it's no. All right. The answer is May 4th. And the reason I gave a speech about it was because we associate that with Star Wars. May the 4th be with you. And as club growth director, I had to do a demo meeting for a new club. It was Albemarle, who is now a club with our district. And the demo meeting was on May 4th, and they wanted me to do a Star Trek theme, and they wanted me to speak as Darth Vader. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I did a whole Alice in Wonderland theme just to tick them off. So Alice in Wonderland's birthday is May 4th, just a curiosity. And if you're Catholic, next time somebody says, may the 4th be with you, you can say, may the 4th be with you and with Alice. And it'll be, they'll wonder what you're talking about. Next up is going to be our table topics. And I'm going to let our table topics master explain it to our guests what it is. And guests can also be called for it, but it is Toastmaster Mumita. Thank you.
Good evening, dear guest and fellow Toastmaster. Table topics is one of the interesting part of our sessions. And over here, we would encourage the guest and the members to come and give an impromptu speech. And the speech, as the timer has explained, the maximum time limit is 2 minutes and the minimum is 1 minute. So I have few topics that I have listed, and I would request a volunteer to come over here. From guests, I would request someone to come. Memorable trivia night.
Memorable trivia night. I haven't done a lot of trivia in my life, but I've done a little bit. I moved to Charlotte in July, and with that, I did not have any friends. One of the first things I started doing was taking my dog out to the dog park bar, Skip Town, if any of y'all have heard of that. Out there, I met a friend, and that friend invited me to go to trivia at Sycamore Brewing. So that first time that I went out there, I had a really great time, and I met more people who I'm not quite friends with yet. However, it was very memorable for me because that was kind of like my first social outing with people when I moved here. And so now that's like a weekly thing that we do. And we're starting back up tomorrow, and I'm really excited about it. Thank you.
Toastmaster Tom. Even I was not aware of what is trivia night. So I started Googling after I saw the theme of trivia. And then I got reminded, I'm a big fan of Friends series. I don't know, in one of the episode, all of them would be sitting and there was a trivia about among trivia night. And I think Rachel and Monica, they lost their house. That was the bet on that trivia. So I got to know trivia from that episode. So I would invite another volunteer over here. Someone would be interested. Yes, yeah, Griffin. Griffin.
Trivia?
What was the one answer that you found very funny on trivia?
All right. Well, I used to host trivia, which makes this a little bit easier. But we had a question about Teletubbies. Question was very simple. It was an intro question. We asked what characters have TVs in their bellies and a baby with a face for the sun. It is very specific. You would think that we would just get one very simple answer or people would abstain. Instead, we had around 50 people there and we had 36 different answers. Apparently, when you're doing trivia at a bar aimed at 55 plus, many people will not know the local shows, or sorry, the shows of the youth. It was fun though. One of the main points of trivia that I enjoyed doing as a host was getting to chide a little bit, not necessarily mock, but playfully point out, okay, that was wrong. I did that for one of the answers, and the person got up, yelled an obscenity, and then they stormed out. And after that, I decided, all right, I'm going to be a little nicer and give everyone the graciousness that they deserve when playing the very, very important game of trivia, especially relating to the Teletubbies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Griffin. It was wonderful. Now I would invite the next volunteer. Well, you wanted to, yeah. What was the one question that you found?
The one question I found what was it? Interesting or interesting in trivia. I suspect it goes off in a little bit of a tangent in that some child asked me, how would I land an airplane? And I said, well, I think I used to be a pilot, well, still am a pilot. And so the way to approach landing an airplane is finding out where you're going. As we had some of our discussions earlier about, what is my goal? My goal is to land the airplane on some landing strip, something that I know I can be able to survive and walk away from. And I got to know something about, like you were saying, what do I know about this landing strip? Hopefully it's, there's no trees, there's no cows. In fact, the first place I learned to land, there were cows and ducks and all kinds of other stuff we had to avoid. And then the key thing is coming on the right airspeed. So that way, that you got to be able to stop by the end of the runway, which is another of the things in your stories, the very beginning of the story. And so I had to reach for the flight controls. And then as I come down for landing, I flare the aircraft to have the main wheels touch first and then the nose touch. And then that's it. Thank you.
It was indeed interesting, as the question was interesting. Another volunteer? Anyone? Ronnie. Thank you, Ron. If you would like to host trivia night, which trivia theme you would select?
Okay. If I was to host trivia night, the theme I would select would probably be music. I'm a music lover, and I would probably do all types of genres from, I guess, 80s, 90s R&B, 80s, 90s hip hop, country, western, some rock and roll. So I'm just a big music lover, and I think music kind of brings everyone together. It's something that everybody can relate to, and music also tells a lot about our history as well, the good and the bad. So I just feel that music would be just a good topic to have as trivia. So.
Are we done? Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mamita. Appreciate it. All right, $20 question. This one should be fairly easy. I'm getting away from the fairy books. This is, let's see, Leaning Tower of Pisa. I think we're all familiar with it. It leans 3.9 degrees. There's another very famous building, tower, structure that is also leaning, which I didn't know. Now, there's a lot of buildings that lean, but this particular one, I didn't know it was leaning, and it is leaning. So do you have the answer, Andrea? No, not the Eiffel. Not the Eiffel. I'll give you a clue. The scientist says in about 4,000 or 10,000 years, it's going to fall over. So they're not really concerned about it. But it's a very famous building. Alan? No, no. What is? Good. No, those things can't lean, can they? Bill? London Bridge? No. Coliseum? No, no, because that's a big round thing. No. Go ahead. Big Ben, yes. Big Ben is leaning at 0.26 degrees, which is about a quarter of a degree. Now I'm going to give you a choice since you had the $20. You can have $20 American, or I have a $20 Canadian. Now, Canadian is stronger dollars, right? It's worth $26.60. So, easy choice, Canadian. All right. You're lucky because we usually have like 4 Canadians that are members. So there you go. And have you ever seen Canadian dollars? They're like see-through. They're actually kind of cool. No? Yes, sir.
Can I have the 20?
Oh. All right, I'm going to go ahead. We'll do a couple more questions before we go, but I'm going to call up now our general evaluator, take over our evaluation part of Toastmasters. You give speeches, you get feedback. We get feedback for the whole meeting, and we're going to have Toastmaster Alan be our general evaluator. I mean, those other buildings might be leaning too, but Big Ben is the one that I came up with.
All right, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I was having so much fun with trivia, I forgot I was supposed to come up here. But this is the most important portion of a Toastmasters meeting. This is an opportunity where all of our prepared speakers have an opportunity to find out what they excelled at, as well as any ideas for how they can improve in future speeches. And then my job will also be to give our evaluators feedback, because those are speeches in and of themselves. And then I'll give feedback on the meeting as a whole. So to get started, I would like to bring up Andrea Chocolate Butterfly Williams, who's going to evaluate Shannon. Or do I have it backwards? I'm sorry. So Kendall Rackley will evaluate Shannon. Please welcome Kendall.
All right. Good evening, Toastmasters and honored guests. I'm going to be evaluating Shannon's speech. So one thing that I find that's funny is that this is my second evaluation, and it is a very kind of, it's a very powerful speech. So I don't know why I seem to get all the powerful speeches. I'm waiting for something really lighthearted, but I get all the hard stuff. So first of all, I really want to commend you on how brave it was to come up here and give that speech. I thought it was really powerful, talking about something that, I mean, you'd have to torture me to get certain things like that out of me, honestly. But like, I think that was really forthcoming to talk about what you did, and alcoholism and overcoming that. So one thing that I thought was really good was how engaging that you were. I mean, there was no point in the speech where you weren't walking around, moving your body. So I feel like you definitely filled the room, and most of your speeches are like that. So, I mean, that comes second nature to you. I like the beginning where you had the explanation of just being tired, because I think that was a good opening. We didn't know, I didn't exactly know where it was going. I know that you were talking about tired and that you were talking about the presence, but then you kind of explained, here's why I'm tired. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I think that was a good introduction. Then you had some questions where you said, have you ever been this tired? And I think that, had me thinking like, hey, when have I been that tired? Oh, last week, but I think that was a good opening where you kind of had an engaging question to kind of get everybody involved. And then of course I like how you repeated it. So it was kind of like, no, I'm not just tired, I'm tired, like without the R, but but like I think that was good kind of point of emphasis, is that you just kind of explained how tired you were, and you kind of went into the reasons for why. And then you added in some humor as well. You talked about going to rehab, which was pretty talked about woohoo, and obviously rehab is we wouldn't imagine that being something that you'd be kind of excited about. And then of course the extended warranty part as well, where you talked about how you were listening to the guy talk about an extended warranty, and that was kind of where you reached rock bottom. So I thought that was kind of funny, and those kind of things helped to engage us even more. I think one really powerful part was where you talked about what a rut is and what it's like to be in there, where you kind of said it's like a grave. And I thought that was a big deal because I think that you kind of had that semblance of like being in a rut, being in a difficult place, but also being, comparing that to a grave where it feels like you're dead almost, you're not alive. So I think that was a really, really big highlight and important point. And then in the end, you kind of gave some action items. Dang, already over. At the end, you also gave some action items about, how you can be more present to not be in that space. The only improvement that I honestly had was maybe to connect how being more present helped you to kind of get out of your rut. I know that you kind of talked about, being present, being in a rut, but I think I was maybe looking for like a connection between like, okay, how did that kind of help you kind of get out of the rut and then reach to the potential that you were trying to get, to, which is being more present and then kind of getting out of that rut, going to rehab and things like that. So I think that's my only correction for you, but I think it was a great speech.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. And then our second evaluator. Now it's Andrea's turn to come up here and evaluate Phil. Please welcome Andrea.
Thank you, Toastmaster Allen. And it was a pleasure to come up and evaluate Mr. Bill. And I am a math geek. So when he comes up and talks about math, I'm excited. I know that's not everybody else's excitement, but I'm a math geek. So just ignore me. Bill, we thank you for giving that speech. It's like a present. So when you give a present to somebody, you're presenting something, a gift to them. And that's what I think about a speech. It's a gift to your audience. And so what you did when you set up the present, you gave us you might get a gift. Like I got a gift this Christmas. I wasn't too thrilled about getting. I felt like that this gift was something for them, not for me. And it didn't work out for them. It didn't work. It's what happened. It didn't work. And sometimes when people give you stuff, you're like, oh, thank you. But you're not really happy about it, right? And that's kind of when you're talking about math, insurance, and you kind of brought up, people are like, I don't really want to talk about this. The water bill, every time he talks about the water, David's face goes dry. So it's just the things that, when you're trying to reach your audience, you're trying to find something to connect with them. So when you given that speech, it was great that you started it off by deciding this is good for you. You convinced us that math is good for us. So you convinced us that this gift that you're giving us on math is good for us. So that's great. Okay, so you got your gift ready. And then when you're thinking about putting your gift together, what do you put it in? You put it in wrapping paper or a gift bag, or you design it up. You juice it up, right? So when you juiced it up with the different points of, this is I don't even remember what the name of the triangles were. I said, I'm not going to even try to do that. But when you told us the relevance of each triangle, it made us want to hear more. That was great. The one thing that I think you were missing was wrapping that gift up. So when I get a gift, I am very excited when I see it wrapped up in like pretty paper with a beautiful bow or a cute bag with, I bought this bag with my mom for my mom. It was a chocolate Santa Claus. It was just so cute. I had to get this bag. And so when you see the bag, you're like, oh, I'm excited to get this gift. And so if you put that bow on the top of it, and so my suggestion is to summarize what you said, because you gave us a lot of information, right? You told us a lot of things about math that I already know, that's why I like it, or love it actually. But other people may be like, I did horrible in math, and you're still talking about triangles. Okay, they have not gotten triangles out their mind, right? So to get their mind back to where you need it to be, when you get their mind back where it needs to be, sum up that speech. And to summarize the nuggets you shared to present it. So your bow would be something like this: understanding triangles help you to be able to work efficiently, centered thought to ensure inclusivity, and balance your life, the balance, and be able to handle life's challenges. Something so that whatever you share, because your message wasn't really about the triangles, it was more about how math is important to you. And those are the things that you want people to understand. So when you went from your speech to just, math is important, you lost us. So just that, put it in, and I think the speech will be great. I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So before I give my feedback, I will first call on our timer, Cameron, to tell us how we did.
Thank you, Toastmaster Allen. Or for our 2-time speeches, we had Shannon come in at a lengthy 9 minutes and 11 seconds. Of course, I didn't do him any favors because I was so wrapped in what he was saying, I forgot to do my job. So I didn't even hold up a card until, I'm not going to tell you when, but anyway, great speech. Bill came in at 5 minutes and 43. I made sure I brought it back in and did a better job of holding up cards for you. So great job with that. Our table topics, Tom at 1:08, Griffin 1:09, Bill 1:39, and Rockney just short at 41 seconds. So you were talking about music. So if you need something to fill time, I suggest you pull a Andrea Chocolate Butterfly Williams and just start singing one of those songs that you like. Give us a couple notes from that, and you'd have been at 1 minute. So just food for thought. And for our evaluations, Kendall came in at 3 minutes and 57 seconds, and Andrea came in at 3 minutes and 31 seconds. Toastmaster Allen.
All right. And then our other supporting role tonight is going to now come up and tell us if we talked real good and stuff. So please welcome our grammarian, Dana.
Thank you. Everyone did an excellent job tonight. I have to admit, I had trouble even counting the filler words. I think everyone made a concerted effort to speak clearly and concisely. Rather than really noticing the filler words, I feel like I noticed more of the stellar vocabulary that people used and the quotes. Bill, I loved the Galileo quote. I thought it was perfect for your speech. Kendall, when you described Shannon's speech as forthcoming, I thought that was a really apt description, perfect vocab for that. And Shannon, when you said you were bone weary, that was another really great phrase that I picked up on. In terms of using the word of the day, David used the word of the day once, Bill twice, Kendall once, and Andrea once. So that is my report. Great job, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, well, it is now time to give my feedback on the meeting and our 2 evaluators. So I'll start with the evaluators. Both Kendall and Andrea did a great job incorporating the sandwich method into their technique, which is the traditional method that Toastmasters use, which is where the evaluations begin and end on a positive note. And then the constructive feedback is right in the middle. And the constructive feedback was all done without any negative connotations. This was all done with, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but ideas on how to improve, or I think you should do this, as opposed to negative phrases like, I didn't like this, or this wasn't very good, and so on. And all of the feedback that was given was done in a first person perspective, because this is what they personally enjoyed about the speech, or what they personally thought could have been done more effectively. As we all know, we all have our other opinions, so maybe there's different things that everyone else in the room picked up on. My two big challenges would be, since both Kendall and Andrea both went over just a little bit. Kendall, I appreciate that this is a relatively new role for you, so overall you did a wonderful job. One takeaway I would give is to focus more on the delivery of the speech as opposed to rehashing the speech itself. That's the biggest faux pas that I made when I first gave my evaluation. Because obviously we've already heard it. We want to focus more on the technique as opposed to the actual content. And then Andrea, I would say the same thing. I think, granted, I wasn't having an actual clock to count, but I feel like you probably spent as much time talking or tying in Bill's speech to your own experiences as the actual feedback on what he did well and how to improve. But overall, again, great job as well. And then as far as the meeting as a whole, we started on time. Everyone did a wonderful job explaining their roles for the benefit of our guests. I love the theme tonight. This is the first meeting I've been to in my soon-to-be 6 years as a Toastmaster where they gave away cash money. So I loved it. We'll have to do that again some other time, and I'll be sure to be here for that. And then I think I already said everyone did a great job explaining their roles. I love the table topics questions. They tied in very nicely with the theme. I don't know if you noticed, but I was janking on my ear because I had a really hard time hearing you. So just not just you, but anyone else, if you have a really low natural tone, please speak up so that everyone in the back of the room, including myself, can hear you. And then one thing I was going to share, which doesn't necessarily pertain as much to the meeting itself, but since we are in a new year and since we have so many returning guests, soon to be members, and first time guests, this is that time of year where we start seeing a huge influx in attendance, especially for first time visitors, because they're on their New Year's resolution kicks. And I know everyone tries to make resolutions to better themselves, and that's great. One thing I will say, just from my own personal experience, I've seen so many guests who come at the beginning, they hit the ground running, and then something comes up the following week and the next week and so on. And then I think what happens a lot of times is they just decide, well, there's no point in me coming back. I've missed so many meetings. And I feel like you could tie that into just about any New Year's resolution. But I will say this, if that happens, and hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, just come back when you can. It's better that you come when you can than not come back at all. And I will say that you get out of Toastmasters what you put into it. And you don't have to be here every single week. Just try to be consistent. And the more you come, the more you learn and the more you improve. And I believe that's everything I had. Oh, and Shannon, great job on your speech. You don't need to tell us it was a rough draft because we just don't need to know that. If you come up here and you just wing it, if you're really good, we wouldn't know the difference. Or if it was terrible, we'd figure out on our own. So thank you very much. And David, back to you.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. We've got 4 more questions, quick, rapid questions, $5 each. I know we have a couple musicians in here or musical interest people. Which Peanut character, Peanut meaning Charlie Brown, always played the piano? I did see your hand. You heard it. All right. I did see his hand first, but I didn't know the answer to that. All right. So I owe you 5. Let's see if you get any more. So I'll just give you more. Next one. She has to pick up her mom. It's always a thing. Who I'll wait till you finish your. I have a feeling Alan's gonna get this one. Who is the godmother to Elton John's sons? Alan, Lady Gaga. You got $10. All right, this is the one that Dr. Laxer is excluded from. I thought this was hard. I didn't get it, but I have a feeling you all are going to get it. What is the body's biggest organ? Again, everybody got it right, but I'll give it to Shannon. Last one. And Cameron, the answer is not zero. No matter how many YouTube or TikTok videos you watch, the answer is not zero. And I have a feeling Bill's going to know the answer to this. How many people have walked on the moon? That's it. Shannon? 7? You got to know, Bill. I thought you 3. I thought it was 3. One more. 1. Go ahead. 9. What do you got? 4? Yeah. Well, last one. 2. Answer is 12. I was shocked. 12s. Yeah. I thought it was 3 too, because I was like the original guys, but there was 12. You have to Google it, verify it, but I did that too. All right. And back to our president, Dr. Eric Laxer. Thanks, sir.
Wonderful job, David. Let's have a big hand for David, and more importantly, raise your hand if you want David to be the Toastmaster of the day every week. Yeah, thank you, David. We are close to being done, but we're going to just do a couple things before we round up. We'd like to give our guests an opportunity to just share with us their thoughts about tonight's meeting and what they thought of the experience. And so I'm going to go in the reverse direction. We're going to start over here with Jeff. So Jeff, just take about 20, 30 seconds.
Well, thank you, everybody. That was a great meeting. I mean, the speeches were incredible. In Shannon's speech and the other speech on math, it really hit the ground. And all the feedback. I can't believe how many feedback, the great feedback that was given for all the speeches. So it was really a great experience to be here. So thank you.
Mark, right?
I found it very interactive, very supportive group. Everyone was, like you said, the feedback was great. The speeches were excellent. It was kind of what I expected. The table topics threw me. I wasn't sure that for a minute kind of threw me, but otherwise I thought it was very good. I'm looking forward to coming back.
Thank you. Carrie?
Yeah, what's not to like about Cash Money? I think he bribed us all to come back. Yeah, it was very interesting. It was kind of both what I thought and also a little different, but enjoyed it and looking forward to coming back.
Definitely have been wanting to come for a while. Was kind of a little bit daunted, so it was nice to come in and see such a welcoming environment. Didn't expect to be leaving with some foreign currency, but here we are. Exciting.
Rockney?
I feel that it was a very great, productive meeting, and I can't wait to come back again. So that's pretty much about it.
As you all know, we have our speech contest coming up on Tuesday, January 23rd. Elvis, can you just maybe give a little pep talk? We need to get people to sign up for the contest, maybe a couple of words of encouragement, how wonderful it is to participate in a speech contest.
Absolutely. The contests are part of the tradition of Toastmasters. We have this year 2 ways to participate on speech contests. There's an international speech that requires some qualification to be able to participate as a contest. Members will need to have completed level 2 of pathways in order to qualify for the speech contest. But there's another one, which is the table topics contest. And the only thing that is required is that you are an active member of any club. So all of you members of Queen City are able to participate. It's a fun event. And all of you who can participate, please, we encourage you to step up, participate. It's a fun activity. And the winners of this contest will go up to the area level contest, and the winners of the area contest will go to the division and so forth to the district. And then they will take you to other paths which require basically going as the contestants for the international speech, which happen every year and in an annual basis. So again, the only thing that you require to participate in January, on January the 23rd, is to be able, first, to be a member and just wanted to participate. So all of you, please, members, sign up. We all require volunteers also for the roles as a judge, as a timer. And so there are some other things that will be required, and we will communicate to you. But if you want to participate as a volunteer or as a contestant, please let us know to me or Eric or any of the club officers, and we'll be happy to have you. And hopefully you join us in the contest on the 23rd.
Tuesday, yeah, it'll be our regular meeting that night will be the speech contest. No, it shouldn't last longer, and depending on how many contestants we have, we might incorporate into a regular meeting, or if not, it'll just be the speech contest. Yes. Yeah, so the way, just formally, what happens is the 10 people leave the room. Every person gets the same question. And so at the end, however we decide, judges who are usually club members or somebody from outside of the club, they vote, basically. Yeah, so it's just like our table topics. The only difference is you all get the same question and the contestants are out of the room so they don't hear the question or the other people's answers. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just let me know. Great. I already got your name down. I think that question just automatically put you down there. One other thing is we were planning a speechathon with another club that was going to be Saturday, January 20th. The date is going to change, and it's probably going to be Saturday, February 3rd. And stay tuned. I'll get more information to everybody about that. So thank you, everybody who participated. Thank you, David, for sharing some of your own personal retirement money with us here tonight. We're very grateful. And unless there are any other announcements or comments, I would like to call tonight's meeting to a close. Okay.